Welcome back to the 3S podcast, where we push past our limits, we endure pain, and we achieve greatness. On this podcast, we're going to be talking about what it takes when we sacrifice, we suffer, to get to our destination, which is our success. So I just want to sit here and say thank you guys for tuning in. This is the first of many to come. We have so much coming your guys' way. This is so huge for me because I never thought that I would be here as quick as I am, and we're doing things that I never even thought were possible. But on today's podcast, I just kind of wanted to start with introducing myself. Who am I to you guys? Why should you guys be tuning in? What really is there to listen to? Why should you listen to me? And just where I've gone, how I've gotten to the place that I am in today, and just what all we're trying to achieve and where my destination is, what the sacrifices I had to make were, how much I had to suffer to get to where I'm at. And now, I want to say that I'm where I'm at. I'm not going to get complacent, but I've achieved a little bit of success, and I like to take pride in who I am and who I've became, and just give all that glory to God, because I would not get here if it wasn't for him. And it's just so huge. I'm just still sitting here with all these cameras up and just reflecting on all the stuff that I've done. But I guess we just got to jump into it, because today is the start to something enormous, and you guys are going to watch it happen. You guys are going to tune in, and you guys are going to be here growing with me, and that's just the biggest goal is how can we grow together? How can I give you guys some vital information and crucial information just to help your guys' life? Because we've all been in those dark times. We've all been in those spots that are just really hard for us to kind of push through. And that's one thing that this is about, is just understanding that it's bigger than yourself, that there is something out there for you. You have a purpose and you have divinity within yourself to go achieve the things that everybody has told you is impossible. Even if you doubt yourself, sometimes we even tell ourselves that it's impossible, but everything's possible, and you can do anything that you put your mind to. And it just starts with finding something that is bigger than yourself. So, let's just jump into it. So basically, what has kind of pushed me to coming to the place that I am in today is just my childhood. And I just want to start there, because a lot of you guys know me, or you'll see pictures of me. And to the people who don't know me or don't know what I do, I am Remy Stull. I'm a barber. My real name's Ramaliel Mitchell Stull. That's my full name. Everybody just calls me Remy, just makes it a lot easier. But I am a barber. I cut hair. I love to inspire. I love to create. I love to be a creative being, be a creative person, and just pour into other people and give back in ways that mean more to me than anything. I love cutting hair because I get to put a smile on somebody else's face, and they get to walk out feeling good, looking good, just feeling that sense of confidence when they walk out the chair. It just makes me feel awesome. But I am a barber. I cut hair. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a multimedia manager. I just try to get myself in any facet that I possibly can to help other people and create. And that's just kind of my vision. But I guess we can just throw this way back. Let's just get started on who I am, where I've came from, like what I've gotten through to get to the places that I am in today. And it really starts with when I was a kid. So just a little backstory on me. I grew up in a very, very toxic environment. I grew up with a mother that was on a whole bunch of drugs, just very, very toxic place to live in. She was in and out the house all the time. She could never keep her mind straight. She could never get right. Like, just to make a long story short, she couldn't get right. She was always in and out, battling with the addiction. And it was something that really rubs off on you as a kid, whether it be divorced parents, whether it be parents that battle with addiction, depression, bipolar, whatever their disease is, that almost infects you as a kid. It takes up everything to do with your life. And through those trials and tribulations with my mother, like, she was just bouncing in and out of the house. We would get sent over to like a friend's house and get left there for days. So that definitely had a huge impact on me as a child growing up. And it just created a lot of ill intent, like ill will in my heart, just towards everybody. It was just like my back versus the wall, me versus the world. And how can I get back at somebody else because of this internal trauma that I had as a child? So I was a really angry kid. It was really hard for me to let go of that anger and that animosity within my soul, because growing up seeing that, it was just really, really hard. And So living with my mom was a crazy situation because she was always in and out the house. She was always going off, doing her own stuff. I mean, doing drugs, just getting all caught up in all the drama. I mean, you guys probably know the kind of the story behind like just drug abusers. I mean, they're in and out the house. They're never consistent. They don't have a time frame. They're just always thinking about themselves and what they can do. And I mean, she had a rough childhood growing up herself. So I don't sit here and I don't ever ask for pity on these situations. I'm just kind of giving you guys some information on me because this is who made me who I am today. And so I lived with my mom till I was about like 3 years old, and then I got taken and put into foster care. Actually, a little bit before that. So I was put into foster care when I was probably about like 1.5 to 2, and I was always in and out of my mom's house at that time. But I got put in foster care for about, I think it was about a year or so. And then my dad and my grandparents found out who I was. My dad found out who that I was actually his kid, because there was a couple people that were in the running to see if I was their child, but two of them didn't really care too much. But my dad was really infatuated with the idea of having a son, and it was me and my brother. So it was just really cool to have a dad that was like, okay, I kind of want to be here for his life. I want to see this. But my dad struggled with all of his own battles and stuff as well, whether it be drug addiction, whether it be bipolar depression, whether it be just his mental fortitude was not always there. So I mean, he was in and out of jail, mom was in and out of jail, but the one thing I can say is my grandparents were my rock. They were my everything. They gave me a life that I couldn't have dreamt of, and it was just so huge for me because they took away from their selves and their wants and their desires to go travel or go whatever, and decided to take in two little boys that, I mean, they had no obligation to take in. It wasn't something that they had to do, but again, they sacrificed for us. They sacrificed the life that they might have wanted to live for me and my brother. And in hindsight, looking back on it, it's like I gave them hell. Like, I mean, I was a little shafid. I was a little asshole. I'm not gonna lie, but it was just something that was so inspiring to me. Looking back on it now, is because they were so selfless in that situation. But a little bit more on the childhood side of things. I started growing up. I mean, I had really, really bad anger issues. I was always in and out of fights. I was always fighting people. I was always arguing. I was always just trying to find a way to get people's like get under their skin, make them angry, just be an asshat, to be honest. Like, I was just a little mean kid running around just doing devious activities, always just messing around with people and just trying to irritate people. And then me and my brother grew up, and we just fought all the time. Like, it was just a very, very toxic environment because we both held resentment towards the situation, like with our mother and growing up, and just within our hearts, because we're little kids. Like, that's the only life that we saw. We just saw all this detriment and all this hatred and all this evil in this world at a very young age, and it honestly makes you have to grow up real fast. You know what I'm saying? Because you get to see a life that you're not supposed to see as a child, and that just put and installed into me a lot of this hatred, whether it even be for like myself. Like, I had so much self-doubt when I was a kid. I mean, I always displayed it as I'm confident, or I believe in myself, or this is all going right for me, so this is how this is going to be. But no, I doubted myself every single day because I felt unworthy of love, because I got that taken away from me when I was a kid. And that was something that was really hard for me to comprehend and understand, because I had to go through all these emotions. It felt like alone, like, because I didn't really have anybody to relate to. And then me and my brother would always be fighting all the time. So it was something that was really hard for me to process, whether it be mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, every single way that you should probably process that. I just put my emotions on a back burner and say, hey, I'll deal with them when I deal with them. But when you start doing that, that comes out in your life in different ways. It comes to fruition in so many different avenues, whether it be later on the line, if you don't deal with it with relationships, whether it be friendships, no matter what that relationship is, whether it be a girlfriend, boyfriend, if you don't deal with it until you get married, it's like all those internal traumas come out in a way that you might not have expected it to once you get older. And we can get way deep into that on some other podcasts too, but that just kind of sums up the emotional side of that. But growing up as well through that, I decided to start with sports because that was one of the biggest outlets of my life. I decided to invest myself into a sport. And I think that's what honestly saved me, because if I stuck around and I lived with my mom and everything like that was going the way that it was going, I would not be in the place that I'm I am now if it wasn't for sports, because it gave me an outlet. It gave me a way to express myself. It gave me a place to put that anger, whether it be on the soccer field, football field, baseball, gymnastics, track, like whatever it was that I did, I could express myself through that. And that just made me feel really, really like at peace, because I had an outlet to pour all those emotions into. And so I pursued, growing up in middle school, I pursued basketball, I pursued baseball, and I pursued football. Those were my three sports of choice, just because that was just kind of my favorite. But once I got in my eighth grade year, I got kicked off the basketball team actually for fighting. Shout out E Dog, he knows who he is. We got into it eighth grade year, and so I got kicked off the basketball team, and that was kind of a turning point for me with like my anger. I mean, I was still kind of an angry kid, and it just opened my eyes, because there are consequences to your actions. And then those implications to those consequences are only going to get greater as you get older, get bigger, because there are repercussions to the things that you do. And that's something that I didn't really understand when I was a kid, because like you a kid, you're going to get away with a lot more. People are going to give you more chances. But I started to see my life going down a way that I didn't want it to go. And I said, hold on, wait a minute. Like, if this is where my life's going to take me, I don't want to be there. You know what I'm saying? I had to take a step back and look at myself like, dude, do some introspection and look at who I am and what I'm trying to do, where I'm trying to go, and the things that I'm trying to achieve. And that did not align with my trajectory on the vision that I have for myself, and even the vision that God had for me, because he opened my eyes to a lot in those moments. And so I continued to struggle like through my eighth grade year into like my sophomore year, just with like my mental health and where I was trying to go. And then high school comes around. Everything's getting better. I mean, I had less people on my case. I was continuing to do sports. I did basketball. I did football. And then I tried baseball. That was my freshman year, and that was COVID year. And I didn't end up doing baseball because the season got cut short because of COVID. But my freshman year, I was starting on varsity because we had a junior. He broke his wrist, and so he couldn't play. So I got to step into this position, and I was a pretty okay athlete at the time. I mean, I was there physically, but my mental was not there. Like, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to carry myself in this position, because I mean, you're coming out of eighth grade. You don't really know. You're a boy amongst men. You know what I'm saying? You're playing against seniors in high school. So it was a pretty crazy eye-opening experience. But football became my outlet, because I got to step on that varsity field. I got to see what it was like being a boy amongst men, and I had to understand that going through this is like, I have a choice. Am I gonna curl up in a ball and quit, or am I gonna push through? And I always like to say that I've had a vicious tenacity to win and to want it and to go for it and just push towards my goals. So I said, dude, if I'm gonna step on this field, I'm gonna do it at my best abilities, and I'm gonna continue to grind. But even at that time, I was a little snot-nosed boy, and I always just talked back, and I was just still kind of in my own way, like whether it be emotionally, whether it be mentally. So I kind of held myself back from a lot of different things. And one thing that I really had to say to myself is like, hey, is this where I'm trying to go? And my entire trajectory, my entire life was go play college ball, go to the league, go become the best I possibly can be at football. Like that was my calling. That's what I felt that it was. That's where my trajectory was, because I've been playing football since third grade. So in third grade, I was going up through football and all of that as well. And mind you this, during this entire time, like I lived with my grandparents. My grandparents took care of me. They pressed into who I was. They made me and molded me into the man that I am today. And it's like, again, shout out them, because I would not be half the man that I am today if it wasn't for them. And I had great role models to look up to in that sense. Like my grandfather was an outstanding man, very stoic, very, very quiet. But when he had stuff to say, like, like those people, like you got the old wise man who's stoic when he's a man of few words, but once he speaks, it has some importance to it. So that was my biggest thing, is just understanding that I had that role model. But into the football season, I did okay my freshman year. I did pretty subpar in like the grand scheme of things, but I got on that field. It opened my eyes to a reality, and then I was starting my sophomore year. So I was starting football my sophomore year. I was going pretty crazy. I was doing really, really well. But right before my sophomore year, I think this was my freshman summer going into my sophomore year, I was playing at 13th Street. If you know where I'm at, you'll know it. Hey, it's 13th Street outside on the concrete courts. I was playing some dunk ball with some of the older kids, and some of them were college athletes. They were playing at Fort Hayes. And in this specific instance, the dude that I kind of got into it with was ended up being my coach. And I went up for a dunk, and then, or before that, he was kind of playing basketball. He was messing around, and he comes up, and I elbow him, caught him on the chin and the nose, and then he starts bleeding. Obviously, he gets pretty pissed off because this little kid thinks he can do something, and that's me. And so he comes down, I go up for a dunk, and then he just he says, screw dunk ball. He just come up and tackle me. I land right on my tail, bro. I ended up breaking my back, but I didn't know at the time. So I get up, like, we about to scrap. I'm like, bro, it's real now. Like, you playing with me too much. Like, it's time to go. Like, we gonna throw hands. We gonna do something. Like, there's a solution to this. So I get up, obviously got a lot of adrenaline going. I keep running at him and keep acting like this. We get separated. Nobody hit nobody. We just kind of push each other a little bit. And then I continue to try and play. And I sit there and I realize, like, hold on, wait a minute. Like, my back's cooked. Like, I have no idea what's going on right now, but I can barely walk. Like, I can't walk. Like, it hurts to breathe. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm done. I went home after that. So I talked to my grandpa, hey, bro, my back hurts. This is my freshman summer going into sophomore season. So my back started hurting. I was like, okay, we going to be cool. Like, we going to be all right. But no, it wasn't all right. It just kept getting worse. I was like, my grandpa said, just wait a week. So I was like, all right, we can wait a week. Like, it's just going to go away. I'm going to stretch. But I was like, I can't sneeze. I can't cough. I can't bend. I could barely get out my bed. So then I realized I had to go in. So what ended up happening is I fractured my L4 vertebrae on both sides, pulled some ligaments as well. And I was like, ah, shoot, like, here goes this. Broke my back. They told me I would never be playing football again. They told me that this was not going to be the case. The likelihood of me re-breaking my back was almost like 80-some+%. I think they said like 89% chance that I'm going to break my back again if I try to play football again. So I was like, you know what? Like, I'm a naive kid. I said, screw that. I'm going to go back to playing football. So I tried to get better my entire sophomore year. And then, like I said, I started my sophomore season. I was doing fairly well this first game. I mean, I had like 2 TFLs. I had 2 fumble recoveries. I was playing defense at the time, so I was a cornerback. And I did really well that first game. And then the next week, I come to practice, and I'm sitting at practice, and my back goes out again. And I'm like, dude, like, I didn't hit nobody. I didn't do nothing. I was just standing there. And then all of a sudden, I was like, dude, I can't stand up anymore. I had to sit down. And I was like, dude, not again. So then I go back to the doctor. They say that I fractured my L5 vertebrae on the other side. So this is a different fracture. I didn't re-fracture my L4. I fractured my L5 on one side. I had a bulging disc on the other side, and then pulled a whole bunch of ligaments. So I was like, damn. There goes that. There goes all my aspirations of playing football, like in the moment. And I was sitting there, obviously, like, you get depressed when that happens because you had this whole entire life and dream planned out, and then it just gets taken away from you. And it's not something that I had control over. Like, this had no control. I had no control over this situation. I could do nothing about it. But I said, all right, screw that. Like, I can play football. I was like, regardless of what they're telling me, it's like, I know my body. I know myself well enough. I know how I have dedication to go to PT, to grind, to do all this. So I took off the entire sophomore season. I didn't play a single game after that. First game, it was one and done. And I had some teams looking at me and prospects looking at me, but, like, I was just like, well, that just got shot in the foot. So I was like, nah, we got to come back. We got to do this right. So I got right. I got everything smooth. I got everything rolling and going again. And then my sophomore season of basketball comes around. They said that I'm good enough to play. And they obviously warned me, like, these are some implications that could be happening. If you decide to play, you could break your back again, yada, yada, yada. So I was in a back brace, and I couldn't do anything for months on end, probably like 4 or 5 months. I could not do, like, really any physical activity. But I came back to basketball, and I started playing. I did all right, like, my sophomore season. Basketball wasn't really my main thing. I was a football player playing basketball, if you know what I'm saying. So I like to just go hit people, set screens, and then I was playing post, even though I'm small, but I got a little bit of, you know what I'm saying. So a little bit of muscle on me, a little bit of that. So they kind of threw me down there. And my sophomore year went pretty well, and then come to junior year, that's when everything started going right for me. That sophomore summer, we went to a whole bunch of camps as a football team. I got tapped in with, like, a whole bunch of colleges. I was going to some D1 camps. I was doing really well for myself, and everything was going pretty smooth. So I come into junior year, I absolutely ball out. Had the season of my life, just go crazy. Just everything's going great for me. Starting to get offers from New Mexico, Northwest Missouri, North Dakota, state, I was getting a whole bunch of offers from just a whole bunch of different places. I mean, I was visiting K-State, was at KU, just always around the football swag, the football teams, the football camps, just always around that vibe and that energy, and it just made me hungry. So I wanted it. And so I went crazy that year. I got probably about like 10 plus offers. I think I got 3 like D1 offers, and it was just a dream. It felt like a fever dream. But one thing a lot of people don't see, and this is something I like to talk about in hindsight, is that through all of the success that I had, my mental state was terrible. Like I was so depressed. I was so sad because it's like I felt like everything I was doing could get taken away in a heartbeat. And that just does something to you because it's like I'm putting my all into this, but I don't know how fast it can go. Like, is this supposed to be my life? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Is this how I'm supposed to start my life? Is this really where my trajectory is? And I sat back and like through this time I was cutting hair on the side a little bit. I started a little bit like my freshman year going into sophomore season once I broke my back, but I couldn't do too much. I just cut like one of the homies' hair heads, and I was like, okay, this is kind of cool. And I was just like, dude, is this really what I'm supposed to do? Is football really supposed to be all that I'm supposed to be doing? Is this God's calling for me? Is this where I'm trying to put all of my energy and effort into? Is this going to take me to the places that I want to go? Are these my dreams and aspirations, or are these somebody else's for me? And then senior year rolls around, and then I'm gonna get into the story of me cutting hair. But senior year rolls around, and first game comes. I'm like, dude, we ready, bro. So we're playing. I think it was Junction City, if I recall. We were playing Junction City. They had this big quarterback. I mean, he was a dude. He was thick boy. He was big paws, but he was a big dude. He was pretty broad shouldered. And so I come up and I smack him, and I got a TFL. But I get up. I'm like, I think that hurt me more than it hurt him. I get up and I'm like, dude, I can barely walk. I was like, okay, but we got to finish this game. And I go over and I tell my trainer, I'm like, dude, I can barely walk. Like something's wrong with my leg. Like my hip like is like just locked. Like I can't move it, bro. Like it's done. And he goes, okay, well, we can just wrap and you can finish the game. So I'm like, okay. So I finished the game. I did everything that I was supposed to do, but I just a little bit slower. I still did really well that game, but come to find out, I go get it checked out. I fractured my hip. My hip was done. So senior season, I don't really play any of the regular season games. I still had all my offers, but the coaches like started dwindling on talking to me. But I had this one school picked out. It was Northwest Missouri, which is in the same conference as Fort Hays State, which is in the town that I live in. And it was just crazy to me because I was sitting here like, this is what I was supposed to do. Like, this is where I was supposed to go. I was supposed to go play football. I was supposed to have all these offers. I was supposed to go on this trajectory of being a very successful athlete. And this was my purpose. Like, this is everything that I ever invested in my entire life from third grade all the way up until now. And now it's gone. Now the opportunities that I have are very slim. It's not what I wanted it to be. And I'm just done. And I was so mentally stuck because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's like I can't chip my way out of this. I can't go to where I'm trying to go. I can't do the things that I wanted to do. But in the back of my head and the other things I was doing, I was still cutting hair. And I was running a decent business in that. And that's what really kept me grounded, is because like, dude, I have another option. But is this an option that's right for me? And I didn't know. And so through that turmoil, through that like that hardship in my life, I came to understanding that it's not just about what I want to do and the purpose that I think that I have. It's bigger than me. What am I called to do? What gifts do I have? Like, yeah, I'm gifted as an athlete, but obviously it keeps getting taken away from me, and that's not in my control. And it's like something's just not clicking for me mentally. I was not at peace with where I was. Like I said, I was through the success of sports, I was the most sad I possibly could be, because it felt like my identity was tied up in all of these athletics, and everybody was looking at me. Oh, you're the football player. Oh, you're the football player. Oh, you do this. Oh, you're the athlete. You do this. And it's like, I was like, I'm a football player, but that's not who I am. Like that's not Romalio. That's not Remy Stull. That's not who I am. Yeah, I play sports, but that's not me. Like, do you want to know me for me, or do you just gonna want to see the image that I put out there? And that's something that I question. I had such a hard time with, is because I didn't know what my identity was. I was so lost in everything that was coming to me, whether it be the secular things, all the tangible things of this world, whether it be the kudos and the pats on the back, like, oh, that feels good, but it's just a momentary gratification for a longing for an actual long-term purpose. And that's something that got me so caught up, because I didn't know where I was trying to go. I didn't know what I was trying to achieve. I didn't know what this really was and what I was meant to do. And so after that year, I finished strong. I finished the year out. I came back in the playoffs. I did really well. I mean, Avery Johnson, you play in K-State. Shout out Avery, you a dog now. You've been doing your thing, bro. But I had his only interception. I think it was his senior year. We got stomped. Let me just preface that. They absolutely put the BTS, bro, belt to ass. They were whooping us up, bro, no lie. But at the first play of that game, I caught the ball and I almost ran it back for a pick six, but I got stopped at the 1 yard line, bro. I'm soft. Don't tell nobody that though. You know what I'm saying? But so I got stopped there, and then I was just like, okay, that was the end of the season. They beat us out of, I don't think it was the sub-state champion, the game right before state, but. And then I was like, okay, well, what am I trying to do? So we had a new basketball coach at Hayes High that just came in, and I absolutely love this dude. I adore him as a person. Great man. Absolutely an A1 dude. He was a football coach too, but I just wasn't really feeling basketball. It wasn't really for me. And I was just sitting here like, I don't know if this is what I'm trying to do either. And at this time, I was still cutting hair, and I was like, dude, if I can pour into my business of cutting hair, I was like, I think that's what I want to do. So then I ended up quitting basketball, and I ended up deciding to cut hair. And that's a journey in and of itself. And I'll kind of give you guys a backstory to that. I started cutting hair, like I said, about my freshman year going into sophomore year. So it was like COVID time. Everybody needed a barber. My friend looked at me and he says, hey, dude, like, I need a haircut. And I was like, hey, bro, you trying to let me cut your hair? And he's like, yeah. So we ran to Walmart, bro. We got all of our clippers, the $20 Walmart clippers. We were like, all right, bro, this is going to be cool. Like, we're going to check this out. We're going to see if this works. We're going to see how everything's rolling, how everything's streaming, and everything going to be good, grand, and great. So I was like, all right, this is going to be fun. And so I cut his hair in his basement with no lighting, no lights, no nothing. It took me like 3 hours. I cut him like 2 to 3 times actually. And I posted it on my TikTok. So it's on my main page on my TikTok. So I think it's still there. But I cut him up and I was like, dude, this haircut didn't turn out as bad as I thought. Like, this is kind of cool. I kind of like this. So I started cutting hair in my garage. My grandma did not want me to do that. She was very opposed to that idea. Matter of fact, she did not like the idea of me bringing people in and out the house. And she did not like people coming in the house, because she's very like, I want my house clean. I want to know who's coming over, like any parent would be, you know. And she was obviously scared that I'd be getting in trouble, because at the time I was unlicensed. I didn't have my license to be a barber. And so I started in the garage, and I didn't really ask her, because she asked me, like, hey, do you want to park your car in the garage? I was like, no, I'm good. I was like, can I turn it into a barber shop though? Because my car was always outside. And she goes, I was like, so is that a yes? And she just looked at me and like kind of like gave me the mom glare, like, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, so I'm going to do it anyways. If you like it, great. If not, cool. They're not coming into your basement. Because I had a couple people come in the basement when I first started cutting, and she did not like that at all, because they had to walk through the house. So I was like, let's just do it in the garage. They can come in the side door. And so we turned the garage into a barbershop. And it started very small. It started very like localized with just my friends, and we just continued to grow it from there. So I started with a couple friends, started giving out free haircuts, and then obviously I gradually grew my business, grew cutting in the garage, grew everything that I was trying to do. And I started getting, like, this is during high school. So like my sophomore year is when I started taking it real seriously. So sophomore year, I started cutting hair for about like free, and then started cutting hair for like $20. And then I kind of started scaling my business. Now, when scaling my business, I was like, okay, this is for real. I've always hustled since I was a kid. When I was in like elementary school and middle school, I was selling honey buns for like $20. One time I sold one for like $60. I was that kid that was selling candy at the school. I had like a box of Slim Jims, and I had all this stuff, and I was like, bro, let's get rid of it. So I always hustled. And when I was at the pool, I was always hustling people. My grandma liked to tell me that I was mooching off people, but I guess I was, to be honest, like she right. But I was always getting snacks and getting all this stuff for free, and that's just what I was trying to do. I was like, I need food. So I was always hustling since I was a kid, and I was like, oh, dude, I don't got to work for myself. or I got to work for myself. I don't got to work for nobody else. I don't got to listen to what nobody else has to say. I don't got to be under somebody else's authority. And at this time, my grandma was on my tail to get a job. And I was like, hey, I could just work for myself and cut hair and charge people for it. And so it ended up working out pretty good. I started growing myself. I was doing like about on the weekends, I'd start cutting hair. And I started at 30-minute time slots. And like I said, I was charging like $20. And so I started to try and get myself booked out on the weekends. I cut Saturday and Sunday. And I started getting pretty booked. And then my junior year comes along, and that's when stuff started getting real, because I started posting on my Instagram. The word started getting out that Remy's cutting hair. Everybody was making fun of me at school at first because the haircuts were trash. Nobody trusted me with their hair. Nobody wanted me to cut their hair. Nobody wanted me to even come close to them with those clippers. When I went to school, people had a haircut for me. They're like, bro, this is trash. Like, who cut your hair? And obviously it was me, and I was like kind of walking with my head down, you know what I'm saying? But I had confidence in what I could do and the skills that I had. And I was like, okay, like, where are we trying to take this? Where am I trying to go? What is my goal with this? And so I continued to grow it. I was like, this is a business. I got to treat it like one. I got to milk it. I got to nurture it. I got to feed it. I got to water it. I got to help it grow. And so that's exactly what I did. And I said, like I said, my senior year and my junior year, I was going crazy. I started cutting people up every day after film on Saturdays. I get people coming in, and I'd have probably about like 15 to 20 people every Saturday. And so I started being like, oh, I can charge a little bit more for this. So I got to about $35. I was like, okay, this is cool. People paying me the $35. Then people starting to tip me. And then I was like, okay, like if I'm still getting busy, I'd have like 30 to 40, like not 40. I'd have like 30 cuts to about like 15 cuts every single weekend. So it kind of fluctuate. Like some weeks I'd be way more booked up if I didn't have like film or something. So I'd start really early in the morning, and then I wouldn't take no lunch break. I wouldn't do nothing. I would literally bust out 15 haircuts a day, just back to back to back to back to back to back to back. And I wouldn't even eat dinner sometimes with my family because I wouldn't get done till like 10 o'clock at night. And so I was like, this is real. Like, I can do this. And I started seeing money that most kids my age would never see. Like, like I said, I was charging like $35. I was still in high school. I was making thousands of dollars in a garage with no expenses, like nothing. The only thing I had to pay for was gas. And through that, I understood, like, okay, I started to learn like a business model. I started to learn how to market myself. I started to learn how this stuff was going to go. I started to learn what I needed to do and what it was going to take in order to get to the place that I wanted to go. And I said, okay, my dream, I want to travel. I want to make people happy, and I want them to feel like they got a service that nobody else could give them. And so that's what I started doing everything on. I started selling people an experience. I was like, dude, I had people come into a barbershop. The most dope thing, and it was probably one of the things that I'll never forget it. I was like, he knows who he is. If he listens to the podcast, he definitely gonna know. But he brought his dad in for Father's Day in my garage to give him a haircut as a gift. And that was probably the most satisfying thing I could do and most fulfilling thing that I ever did in that barbershop. Obviously, the friends hanging out, the time spent, but like that particular moment just made me feel some type of way, because I'm like, I'm obviously doing something that people aren't doing. If he is paying for his dad's haircut to come to the barbershop to chill, and his dad was absolutely infatuated. I mean, he was so excited. He was stoked because he never had nothing like that. It brought him back to his old days, because he used to cut hair in like the dorms too when he was in high school and stuff, or in college, and he was telling me about it. And it just really meant something to me, because it's like, dude, I got a purpose I could give to people that I didn't even understand. I didn't even know that I could do this for people. But back to the business side of things, it's like I started growing my business, and then I got up to $50 in the garage. I got up to $50 cutting hair on the weekends in a garage. And I was like, I didn't know it was possible, and I didn't know I could get there as fast as I did, because I was like, oh God, like this is real. Like I can really do this. But I always had faith in myself and in my skills to continue to grow. And so I always did that. I always put my first step forward. I always kept taking more steps. Even if I took some back, I kept taking them forward. I took 10 forward, 1 back, 10 forward, 2 back. And it's like, I'm taking more steps forward than I am back, and I continue to grow myself. And I started to see that. I started to see like, oh, this is reality. People are coming to me. I'm getting booked out. Like I don't even have any spots for anybody else. I just started narrowing it down. And it's like, I thought I'd lose a whole bunch of people when I kept price raising. And it's like, no, people understand. Like if you're giving them something nobody else can give them, it's going to be worth your time. It's like a quality service and an experience is priceless. You know what I'm saying? And so through that, I just learned so much. I learned who I was. I learned how to market. I learned all the avenues of business. I learned how to strategically plan something out and create a business plan in order to grow myself. I learned how to map out my expenses. I learned how to save money. I learned like just through running that business, I learned how to buy product, how to resell product, what percentage that I want to make on that product. And I was doing this, I was selling texture powder and stuff out of my garage. And through this time, there's a barbershop called the Fave Factory, and we had a program called Career X at the high school, and so I always went to the high school. And I asked Leo, he's the one who got me started in this, and I asked Leo, I was like, hey, bro, you got clippers and stuff, bro? Can I check out some clippers? And he's like, yeah, sure, dude. And I was like, I want to buy them actually. Like, can I buy these from you? And he goes, like, for real? He's like, yeah, dude, you're more than welcome to buy them. He's like, these are all my old ones. You can start with them. I still have those clippers to this day. I wish I would have brought them out and showed you guys, but nah. So I started with those clippers, those specific clippers. After I started with my wall clippers, they were wall corded clippers. Those are the ones I got from Walmart. Those went through the ringer. I put heads through them clippers, bro. I was chopping it up, going crazy. And then I got those clippers from him, bought a Tomb 45 mat. Like when I first started, like I said, and I was so stoked because I dropped like $300 for all that. And that was a lot of money at the time. I was like, $300 for some clippers and stuff. Like, this is cool. And I made this money. So it just made me feel even more rewarded. And he decided to kind of take me under his wing because I asked him, I was like, hey, bro, can I come shadow you? And I don't think he thought I was for real. I think he just thought I was just playing around. He's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, for sure. But he told me, he's like, yeah, I didn't know that you were actually going to like become this and come in and actually listen to me and actually take in what I was saying. And I was like, yeah, bro, like I had to, like, I'm serious about this. And so through that program, through school and high school, I continued to go to the barbershop. Like we had classes like 2 periods out of the day or 3 periods out of the day. I'd just go there and sit with them. I'd watch them, see what they do, how they move, what they're doing, what their goals are. And I sat there and I told Leo, I told him, I was like, Leo, one day I'm going to be better than you. And this is me being a little cocky kid. And he looks at me and he says, he's like, I hope you are, man. And that's something that resonated with me more than anything because he had faith in me. He knew that I was going to go and do great things. And he said to me, he goes, it's something I genuinely will never forget. He pours into me, he said, you're supposed to be better than me, bro. He's like, I've paved a way and I'm trying to give back to you. And I'm trying to give you an opportunity so you can go exceed my dreams and aspirations. And you can go on and become the person that you're supposed to become. And he says something along those lines, and it just hit me on my soul. And like I might have just laughed it off and said like thank you and just kept joking around, but it's something that I'll never forget because he made me who I am today. He cultivated an opportunity for me that I never even thought that I would even have. I've gotten to places way faster than I ever thought I was. I'm sitting in an office in my apartment that I've dreamed of having, right? And that's something that just makes me so excited because it's like I didn't think I'd get here as fast as I did. I didn't think that these opportunities would come to me, but it's like every single time I had an opportunity I didn't wait for, I went and got it. Because so many people sit back in their chairs saying, hey, I'm gonna wait for this raise. Hey, my boss is gonna see me doing this hard work, and he's just gonna give me this raise. I need this 30 cent. I need this $2 raise. I need this. I'm gonna wait. There's this thing that I want to do. I want to go do it and chase music. I want to go do this. I want to go do that. I want to become the best at this. And it's like so many people talk about it but don't want to be about it because when they set goals, they have to be accountable to that. They like to talk about everybody else and what all they got going on rather than focusing on themselves and understanding that these dreams and these aspirations can be obtainable. Because the difference between a dream and a goal is putting it on a piece of paper and making it a reality. You got to break it down into steps because that dream is real, but it becomes a goal once you put it on paper, and it becomes a reality once you start checking off the steps. Because I always tell people that dream that becomes a goal, that becomes steps, will never not become a reality if you don't do it. And that's something that just hits me on my soul every time because it hurts me to see people want so much and sacrifice so little for it. And that's just the biggest thing too. And it's like through that I went to and come into understanding that it's like, this is real. This is bigger than me. I have the opportunity to go achieve and chase these goals. I have this opportunity to go to places I never even thought that I was trying to go. And it's like, he opened my eyes up because before I even got my barber's license, we were going in to, we were in Colorado, and Actually, no, it wasn't Colorado. We went to Texas. We went to Dallas and Fort Worth, Texas. We got to meet Diego. He taught a class down at I think it was in Fort Worth, and I got to listen to him and see what he got to do. And I was sitting there and I was like just absorbing everything. I went on the trip with Manny and Leo, and I was so thankful because they asked me to go. They invited me, and I was like, dude, I'm trying to go. Like, hell yeah, that sounds like a good time. And when I tell you that literally changed my entire trajectory of my life, like that one moment opened my eyes up to so much because I'm seeing a professional do great things. I'm seeing a professional that's teaching a class. I'm seeing this dude that's got a whole bunch of followers doing a whole bunch of crazy things that I want to do. And so we didn't just go to this class. We spent the entire weekend with this instructor. His name is Diego, and he just hung out with us and he just poured information into us. He gave back. He gave us insight. He gave us real world advice to go achieve the things that we didn't even think were possible. And he shined light on a tunnel that I didn't even know was there. You know what I'm saying? And it just gave me a sense of fulfillment that just made me blossom because I was there. We went to that class and then I won his clippers. He had like a raffle for these clippers and I won them. I still got him. He signed the box and he used them for that class. And it was just something that opened my eyes to something because he took the time out of his day to give back to people that he didn't have to do that. He had no obligation to us, but he gave to us like we were going to be something, like we were going to grow, like we had something within us that was good enough for him to pour into. And he didn't really care about that. He was just like, bro, y'all are chill. We're trying to hang out. And he just decided to be himself and be giving. And he helped me in ways I didn't know were even possible and showed me some stuff that I didn't even know could be a reality. And through that situation, it just changed my life. And so from then on out, I went to barber school. I went to Wichita. I met a whole bunch of friends down there. I was coming back every single weekend to cut hair so I could make money to afford everything that I was doing. Again, I was charging $50 in the barber shop or in the garage. I was still in the garage at that time. And then a big hiccup in the road, but a great hiccup, matter of fact, was going to Florida. So I had this opportunity to go do door-to-door sales with one of my buddies that did it a year prior. And he actually sat in my chair and we were on the phone with his mom. And I told him, I was like, you have to be a little crazy and people have to think you're a little crazy to go achieve the things that you know are possible. And now looking back at it in hindsight, it's funny because everyone thought he was crazy. Everybody thought that, he even said to his mom, like, why are you sending your son off he went to Chicago to do this thing that you don't even know if it's going to work out. And I told his mom, I was like, bro, people got to think you a little crazy to go achieve success that nobody else achieving. Like they going to think you crazy. And so that's something that I told her and told him. And then he ended up doing it. He came back. He did very well for himself, made quite a bit of money. Like we talking about 5 figures plus, and he was doing very well. And that was something that was really awesome because I got to see my friend do this. So he recruited me and to go the next summer, and I went. And when I tell you, it was probably, if not, the sole thing that flipped my mindset. Like it changed my entire perspective on everything. If you're ever thinking about doing door-to-door sales, go try it. Like I'm so serious. Go check it out because it helped me understand that it's going to be hard. Not everybody going to want to listen to you. You're going to get told no all the time. You got to push through your emotions. You have to reset your mind. You have to take yourself out of a detrimental victim mindset and continue to push through. You have to understand how to sell and how to market yourself because people don't want to be sold. They want to buy. Everybody wants to buy. They don't want to be sold though. Everybody likes spending money, but they don't like being told what to do with their money. So you have to frame this in a way that makes them want to buy it. And they're not just buying the product. You're selling yourself to them. And that's something that I realized. And that's the biggest thing that I took from that is that people don't want to be sold. They want to buy a product from somebody who's reliable. Because, I mean, think about it like this. You're not going to go onto a sketchy website and buy some stuff, right? You're going to try and find a website that's for real. And you're not just going to buy whatever. Like, you're going to probably buy something that you've seen. Like, that's why Nike's so prevalent, Under Armour, Adidas. Like, you got all these companies that are doing very well for themselves because they are name brand. Because you know they're reliable. You know what you're going to get. And that's something that you have to do as a salesman, is because you have to be reliable. You have to let these people know what they're going to get, and they have to be trusting in you that you are going to provide, you are going to deliver, and you are going to give them everything that they need. And through Caden's guidance, like, that man helped me through a lot too, like through the sales journey. He helped me understand that it is bigger than me. This is what's possible in this field. This is what you can do. And something that I struggle with a lot though is when I was out there, like, it made me feel like I wasn't doing my purpose, because sales wasn't for me. Like, I loved selling something, but selling what, like, we were selling pest control down there, and selling something that I had no innate attachment to. I didn't feel like that was what I was supposed to do. I didn't feel that that was what my calling was. It just made me feel lost. And I did really well. I was the number one rookie out there until I left. And so I left early because I knew that I was coming home to something that I really was passionate for, and that was cutting hair. Like, I really was passionate about cutting hair. I really was passionate about giving back to something that was bigger than me and just trying to help other people out. And pest control was not that for me. It was not the avenue that I was trying to go down. But I got to give kudos and all the knowledge and the stuff that I'm implicating now into my entire facet of my life, whether it be marketing, sales, strategies, mindset, entrepreneurship. All of that was pulled from sales. All of that was pulled from door to door. And if you ever have the opportunity to go knock on doors, that will be the number one thing that changes your entire perspective and outlook on life itself, because everything's sold. Everything's a marketing scheme. Everything is trying to be manipulated into a way that it makes it look like sexy to you. It makes it look like appealing. It makes it look like you want it. And so when you understand sales, you understand how this world works. You understand the capitalistic mindset on how you're trying to navigate through that. And that's something that really gave me the trajectory and the understanding that I needed to push me into the places that I was trying to go. And shout out Hawks for that. Like, A1, shout out Hawks. But no, through that is just helped me understand so much. And then I was in Florida for about 2.5 months. I left early. I was supposed to be there for 4 months is what I signed my contract for. So I came back and I started cutting hair. And when I came back, it was awesome. Like, I felt at peace. I felt like everything was in the right spot. And this is what I was meant to do. And I came back at the perfect time. I came back in July. So I was right before school started. I had enough time to market myself. I came back and I got full books. Like, I was like, I didn't think this was going to happen because I was cutting for so long in Hayes before. I came back and my books were pretty full. It was kind of slower at the start, but I had about a consistent 3 to 6 haircuts a day. And that was enough, obviously, to get by at the time, because I moved back in with my grandparents, so I wasn't paying any expenses. I was just working, grinding, taking care of all of that. And I was taking care of my phone bill now. And so I was like the only bill I had at the time, which is awesome. So it let me save some money. And through that journey, I've grown to where I am today. Like I said, I was starting at $50. I'm now at $65 for a haircut and $80 with the beard trim. And I just can't be more thankful to be where I'm at today. And that's what leads me now into the present. And now I feel like something that you all want to know is, why is it called the 3S? Like, why is this called the 3S podcast? Why is it sacrifice, suffer, and succeed? And something that I've always said, and this is something that I hammered out with when I was in Wichita, because I had a mentor. Like, that's what I like to call him, a mentor, a brother. Like, this man was somebody I looked up to in ways that I never even thought I could look up to a man. Like, this dude was like a lot of who I aspired to be as a man. And I was in a dark spot then too, because it was a turning point in my life. I went to Wichita with no friends. I went to Wichita with nobody I knew. I was going into a completely new environment, which I'm an outgoing person. I'm an extrovert, so I like talking to people. So I wasn't really too worried about that. But still, in the back of your mind, you're anxious because you're sitting here like, I don't know nobody. I don't know what's fun here. I don't have any friends. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I went there a week early. So I was down like in Wichita a week with no friends, nobody, no homies, no nothing. And the way I met Dex is I was sitting there at a gym. I was supposed to go meet up with one of my homies. He didn't even end up showing up. He texted me a couple hours later after I already got there, like, I'm not going to be here. And I saw this big dude lifting, swole black dude with some tattoos, and I was seeing him living with his headphones on. He started picking up, like, I think it was like the 130s on some incline bench. And I looked at him and was like, hey, bro, you need a spot? He goes, yeah, bro, yeah, help me out. And I was like, okay, bet. So I spotted him. And he put it up easy, man. I ain't no thing, bro. It hurts so good, baby. He knows what's up. It hurts so good. And it was just cultivated from there because we just got to talking, and it was just instantly like, when you have a connection with somebody and it's just instant, like no BS, no like surface level conversation. It was straight into real, straight into deep. We got to talk about philosophical stuff. We got to talk about God. We got to talk about our mindset. We got to talk about perseverance. And so through our relationship, I cultivated this slogan, which was sacrifice, suffer, and succeed. And that literally has resonated with me so much because it comes from a biblical sense. And I'm a big believer in God. I'm a big believer in Jesus Christ, and he's the one who made me who I am today. And I always tell people, it's like the ultimate sacrifice was Jesus Christ. And he lived a life where he had to sacrifice everything. And that meant dying to himself, literally dying to your flesh, dying to what you have, dying to absolutely everything that you think that you need, and suffering. He suffered more than anybody. He was cast out. He was ridiculed. He was called, everybody just was looking at him with evil and hatred and looking at him as though he was the scum of the earth. I mean, he had his followers. He had people show up. He had people believe in him. But more often than not, this world hated him. He ended up being crucified on a cross with nails in his wrists and in his feet. He was getting speared in the side. He suffered. He sacrificed. And he did more than we could ever possibly do. He endured. He lived a perfect life. And through his sacrifice, through his suffering, is where we gain our success. And the thing that makes me feel this in my soul so much is because he didn't just do that. He sat back and he looked upon the world and said, "Forgive them, for they know not what they do," as they're putting a spear in his side. Because as people, we have to forgive not just the people around us, but ourselves, because we're not going to always be there for ourselves. We're not always going to be right. We're not always going to make the right decision. We are going to have to suffer. We are going to have to sacrifice. And then that is when we are going to gain our success in a secular sense, and in a biblical spiritual sense. That's where we gain our salvation. It's bigger than us. It's bigger than what we need. And so that's where I cultivated that term. And it's like, through everything in our lives in a secular sense, you have to sacrifice something. Whether it's your time with your kids, whether it's time with your friends, whether it's going to drink, whether it's going to party, whether it's going to the concert that you wanted to go to in order to focus on your business or your relationship, or whatever it may be, whatever endeavors that you guys have, whatever you want to do to achieve success, you're going to have to sacrifice something. There is a cost. You're going to have to sacrifice that. It's not an if, and, or but. It's a when, where, and how. And that's something that I realized very, very quickly through this journey. And I understood that there is a cost that has to be paid. There is a price that is due. And whatever that is, it's like I'm willing to take that up upon my shoulders. And I'm willing to carry that price with me. And the person who lifts it off my shoulders is the Lord, because I don't have to carry that individually. I can carry that with my team. I can carry that with him, bro. Like, I don't got to do this by myself. And I realized that I am going to have to sacrifice. I'm going to have to suffer. Like, these are non-negotiables. And people look at these terms as being detrimental, but you sacrificing is a very beneficial thing. You suffering is how you gain growth. It's like when you go to the gym and number one, you're sacrificing time already to go to the gym. And number two, you're suffering. What literally happens when you go to the gym is you're breaking down your muscles and then refilling them, you know what I'm saying, with nutrients in order to get big. But the thing is if you go to the gym, you're sacrificing. If you're suffering, everything comes down to what you put into yourself, what you ingest. Because a lot of people suffer and a lot of people sacrifice a lot, but they don't get to where they're going because they don't eat the right nutrients. Whether that be nutrients for themselves physically, nutrients for their mental, nutrients for their spiritual well-being. And I always tell people, like, if you want to listen to my podcast, I don't care if you believe in when, where, what, the flying spaghetti monster. This stuff is all applicable to anybody in any facet of your life because it's bigger than you. Like, regardless of what you believe in, these apply to everybody because you have to fill yourself with the right nutrients in order to go to the places you're trying to go. You have to be in the right mindset to push self towards those goals, no matter the cost. Because so many people let the people around them pull them down. And it's like people hear it all the time. It's like who you surround yourself with is what you become. And I've seen it. I've seen my friends go downhill. I've seen my friends become addicts. I've seen my friends go in and out of jail. I've seen my friends pull themselves down. And it's like, bro, like, I'm going to have to step away from you because this isn't the life and this isn't the trajectory that I'm trying to take myself down. This is not the life that I want to live. This is not where I'm trying to go. This is not what I'm trying to do for myself. And that's something that I really sat there and I realized because it's bigger than me. Like if I give up on my divinity, on who I am, if I don't sacrifice for myself and those around me, if I don't suffer for the cause that's greater than myself, I'll never gain the success for those around me and the people that I am. And people always ask, what's your biggest fear? Like, what are you scared of the most? And I'm going to ask you guys that, like, what is your biggest fear? What are you guys scared of? Because there is something that's calling you to something that you are just getting in your own way of because you're scared of it. And you're scared of what's to come. You're scared of the outcome of it. You're scared to take that next step. You're scared to move out of your hometown. You're scared to get out of this place that's holding you back and being so detrimental for your mental, your spiritual, your physical, your well-being, because these people surrounding you are pulling you so far back. And I tell people and I sit them down every time they ask me, what's your biggest fear? Like, what are you scared of, Remy? Like, what do you run from? And one thing I always tell people is that I run from myself. And that's something that I struggle with a lot is I'm honestly so petrified of failure. I'm petrified of what I will be if I fail. But something that I've changed my mindset into nowadays and why it doesn't scare me is because that F word is so detrimental if you let it take control over you. That scared me for the longest time. Failure was the number one thing that I was sitting here like, I don't know if this is what I want. I don't know, bro. I might fail. I might mess up. People might laugh at me. I said, screw that. I don't fail. I find out. I find out what's real. I find out what I need to do better. I find out a new way to try something. I don't fail. I find out. And I changed my entire mental perspective because I love the F word. I love to say fuck, but I hate the F word and I hate to say fail because I don't fail. I find out, bro. I find out what's new for me. I find out where I'm trying to go. I find out where my next endeavor is going to be. And I find out one way not to do it. I find out that's not how I want to live. I find out what I need to do with my mental fortitude. But the ultimate thing that scares me nowadays is sitting down with my kids right beside me. One of these days, they're going to be on this podcast. I can guarantee it. They're going to sit down right beside me and they're going to say, Dad, you gave me the opportunities that I needed. Because the thing that scares me the most is sitting by my kids and telling them, hey, go chase your dreams. Go chase your dreams. It scares me so much to sit there and tell my kids, go chase your dreams when I didn't do it myself. When I wasn't the man that gave you everything that you needed. When I was the man who sat on the couch and just became lazy, became comfortable, and I didn't do the things I needed to do to put you in the places that you needed in order for you to flourish. Because it's bigger than me. I'm building an empire through the Lord and through the people surrounding me so I can give that to my kids because it's bigger than me. This mindset that I have is bigger than me. I didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I got this mindset. I'm him. I'm this, I'm that. Nah, this took time and time and time and time to grow to who I am now. And this is just a little analogy I like to use is that if you have a 5-gallon bucket of water and you have a big boulder, and you grab that 5-gallon bucket of water and you just throw it on that boulder, it's going to get wet. But then after time, it's just going to dry up. Even in a couple hours, it's going to dry up. But if you have a boulder, a big boulder, you can even make it a bigger one than you threw that 5-gallon bucket on. You got like a 6-ton boulder that's sitting there. If you had a steady drip, a consistent drip, just dripping on that boulder over time, it's going to pierce through that because it's consistent. It's always there. It's never ending. It's going to grow. It's going to help you understand that it's not one time, man. It's a consistent steps that are going to get you to where you're going to go. It's not a one and done. It's not a microwave state where you throw it in there for 30 seconds. It comes out brand new. It's like, dude, you got to be willing to put in the work. 1,000-mile journey starts with one step. Even if you take 10 backwards, you better take 20 forwards because you have to continue to push forward. And then you're not doing it for yourself no more. Like I'm not doing it for me anymore. I'm doing it for those around me. I'm doing it for my future wife. I'm doing it for my girlfriend that I have now. I'm doing it for the family and the friends that I have around me. I'm doing it for my future kids. I'm doing it for everything that I aspire to be and everybody I inspire to inspire. Like, everybody I aspire to aspire, dude. Like, what? Like, that's my goal. People say, where you want to end up in 5 to 10 years? I want to be standing on a stage in the next 3 years with 100,000 people. Screw the 5 to 10 years. And 100,000 people in the next 3 years. Sitting back, looking at these people and saying, hey, I was just like you. I've lived that life too. I've been in your shoes. Stuff didn't always go right for me, but I made a choice. And I can't wait to look back at this podcast and sit there and be like, hey, I did make that choice. Now look at where we gotten. Because I chose to be consistent. I chose to be that constant drip that didn't go away. I wasn't just a 5-gallon bucket of water washed over a top of rocks. I was consistent. I pierced through it. I decided to achieve and go get. I decided to push myself towards that goal. I decided to take my self-pleasure and self-gratification out of it and choose something that was bigger than me. Now, I didn't have the luxury to sit back and everything just be given to me. I had to make a choice. And I had to choose that this is the path that I want to go down. And I didn't just choose that. I had to ask, what price do I have to pay? And if that price is momentary gratification, whether it be going to party with my friends or going to do this with them or going on a boat one weekend or going to do all the stuff that will be fun right now, but will be detrimental to me later. It's like, if I have a choice and I'm going to pick something, I'm going to pick my future 10 times out of 10, 100 times out of 10. I'm going to pick that out of anything else, because it's like, momentary gratification ain't going to get me anywhere where I want to go. It ain't going to give me the things that I need to get. It ain't going to help me help the people that are around me. And that's something that I just sit there and I reflect on every day, because it's like, I don't have the opportunity to quit. I don't have that luxury anymore. And I'm so blessed to not have it, because now we're here. And now we're doing the things that I've inspired to do. And now I'm the man that I'm trying to become. There are so much more steps to make, and I'm never going to get complacent. But it's just like, sometimes you have to take a step back and understand where you've gotten. And that's something that I just sit here and I'm just so grateful for, because I didn't do the things I did alone. I had a team around me. I have friends to help me. I have my grandparents to thank. I have my brother to thank. I got my father, my mother, and through their situations, I didn't just learn what to do. I learned what not to do. And it just took an army of people to pull from in order to get me to the place I am today. And I was just going to say that we kind of got to wrap this up now, but if there are some things that I want you guys to be left with, if you've made it this far through this podcast, is that you have control over your life. Nobody has the choice to make for your destination other than you. You control your thoughts. You control your destination. You can control your mind. I'm going to do a quick little interactive thing that you guys can do while listening to this. Is just, after you hear this, put this on pause. I'm going to kind of run through it quick. You guys have probably heard it before, but if you guys sit back, you can just think in your head, yell hello as loud as possible, right? And then whisper hello as quiet as possible in your head. The fact that you have control over the influx in your voice and the way that your tonality is within your head means you have control over all of your thoughts. Because you are conscious up here. The mental is not always what we portray on the outside of our bodies in the secular sense. Our physical body is not our introspective being. It's not the person within ourselves. It's not the same person. We have a consciousness that we have control over. No matter what you're going through, no matter how hard life gets, you have a choice. And you have people who rely on you, whether it be the people that are actually here or your future, whether it be your kids, whether it be your family, no matter who it is. You got people that rely on you. And I just want to say that y'all are loved, bro. Y'all got people that are going to be there for you. You got people that are going to help you out through the things that you need help with. And it's just real. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for tuning into the 3S podcast. This was absolutely awesome. This is just the beginning to something that is going to be a freaking earthquake. And we are going to grow this. You guys are going to be along for the journey. You guys are going to be here seeing what all we're doing. You guys can grow with us. You guys can learn from me and the people that I have on this podcast. And it's just going to be so exciting. And I just want to thank you guys again for tuning in. But you guys have the choice. You guys have a destination that you have to get to. You guys know everything that you need to do to go to the place that you want to go to. You guys have control over yourselves. You guys have that divinity and that free will. You guys can achieve greatness. But thank you for tuning in to the 3S podcast. I appreciate you guys more than you know. I'm going to leave it on that. And peace out, y'all. Thanks for tuning in.